The Somerton Man mystery. It's one of those stories that just won't let go. People talk about it, read about it, pick it apart, and still, it sits there cold and unexplained. And right at the heart of it, making it even stranger, is a book. Not just any book, but a rare old poetry collection. And the really weird part, it was found in a random car, just sitting there. Why? That's the big question. It all started on a warm morning, December 1st, 1948. Couple walking along Somerton Beach in Adelaide, South Australia, saw a man. He was lying on the sand near the wall. He looked like he was sleeping, maybe hungover. He was dressed well, in a suit and tie, head resting against the wall, legs stretched out towards the sea. The couple thought nothing of it. It was a common sight, folks catching some sleep on the beach. But when they came back a bit later, he was still there, and he hadn't moved. They got a closer look. Something was wrong. The man's face looked peaceful, almost serene, but he wasn't breathing. He was dead. The police arrived. They checked him over. No wallet, no identification. Not a single slip of paper in his pockets that would say who he was. And this was strange. Most people carry something. Driver's license, letters, a business card. Nothing. His clothes were good quality, but every single label had been carefully cut out. The tailor's tags, the laundry marks, gone. It was like someone wanted him to be a ghost. His pockets held a few odd things. A packet of chewing gum, some matches, 2 combs, and a half-smoked cigarette. Small stuff, nothing to point to a name or a life. The police had a body, a mystery, and no leads. They took his fingerprints, circulated them everywhere. No match. He wasn't in any criminal records. He wasn't a missing person reported anywhere in Australia or even overseas. He was just a man, a dead man on a beach who literally had no identity. The autopsy didn't help much either. The doctors checked him out thoroughly. There were no signs of violence, no stab wounds, no bullet holes, no bruising from a fight. His organs were healthy. His last meal was a pasty eaten a few hours before he died, but his spleen was enlarged and there was some congestion in his liver and brain. The doctors thought he had been poisoned, a strong, fast-acting poison, but they couldn't find any trace of it in his body. Not a single chemical signature. It was like the poison just disappeared, or maybe they just didn't know what they were looking for. This made the whole thing even more confusing. A healthy man, suddenly dead, no clear cause, and no ID. The police tried everything. They even showed a bust of his head around, hoping someone would recognize him. Nobody did. It was like he just appeared out of thin air, lived a brief, unknown life, and then died without a trace. The newspapers picked up the story. They called him the Somerton Man. It was a huge headline, a real puzzle for the public. But still, nothing. The case was stuck. Then, about 6 months later, in June 1949, a crucial new piece of evidence turned up. And this is where the story gets really strange. Remember how the police went through all his clothes? They were very thorough. And one of the things they found was a tiny secret fob pocket sewn into the waistband of his trousers. It was hidden almost like it wasn't supposed to be there. And inside this little pocket, rolled up tightly, was a small piece of paper. Just a tiny scrap, like it had been torn from a book. On it, 2 words were printed, Tamam Shud. This was the first real clue. The police were excited. Tamam Shud, what did it mean? They showed it to experts. Turned out, it was a Persian phrase. It means finished or ended. And more importantly, it was the very last phrase in a famous collection of poems called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Now, the Rubaiyat is a classic. It's a book of poetry by a Persian scholar from way back. The poems are beautiful, often about living life to the fullest, appreciating beauty and the fleeting nature of existence. But Tamam Shud at the end, meaning finished, took on a darker, more poignant meaning in this context. Was it a message, a suicide note, a sign that his life was over, or was it just a random piece of paper? The police knew this scrap had to come from a very specific book, not just any copy of the Rubaiyat. It would be from a particular edition, with a particular font, a particular way the words were printed. They started searching, they put out another public appeal. Has anyone lost a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, especially one with a page torn out? This was a long shot. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack, but at least they had a target. They hoped someone would come forward with the matching book. Weeks went by. Then months. Nothing. The case was going cold again. The Tamam Shud scrap was a fantastic lead, but without the book it came from, it was just 2 words. The police were getting frustrated. It felt like they were chasing shadows. And then about 7 months after the body was found, someone did come forward. A man named J. Freeman. And this is where we get to the heart of the question, why was the book found in a random car? Freeman contacted the police, he'd heard about the Tamam Shud clue, and it rang a bell. He remembered something. Back in November 1948, which was just before or exactly when the Somerton Man died, he found a book. Not just any book, but a copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. And where did he find it? In the back seat of his car. Yes, in his own car. It was parked, unlocked, on Jetty Road, which is right near Somerton Beach. He hadn't thought much of it at the time. He found this old book, tossed it into his glove compartment, and forgot about it. People sometimes left things in unlocked cars back then, or maybe someone just put it there. He just didn't connect it to anything important. It was just a book. But then, all those months later, he heard the news reports about the police looking for a specific copy of the Rubaiyat, one with the words Tamam Shud. And it clicked. He went out to his car, checked the glove compartment, there it was. The book. He took it to the police. They were probably skeptical at first, but they took the book. And they compared it to the tiny scrap of paper found in the dead man's secret pocket. And it was a perfect match. The torn edge on the scrap fitted perfectly with the missing page in Freeman's book. The font, the printing, everything. This was the book, the very one from which the Somerton Man's last message had been torn. The finding of this book was a massive breakthrough. It was amazing luck, almost too lucky, some might say. A random man finds a book in his unlocked car, puts it away, and only comes forward months later because of a public appeal. It added another layer of weirdness to an already baffling case. Why was it in his car? Did the Somerton Man put it there? Did someone else? Was it left there on purpose, a deliberate clue? Or was it just a bizarre coincidence, a genuine accident? The police questioned Freeman thoroughly. They checked his story. He seemed honest, just a regular guy who stumbled into a huge mystery. They cleared him of any involvement. He was just the lucky or unlucky guy whose car became a temporary home for this crucial piece of evidence. But the book itself was even more interesting. Inside, on the back flyleaf, written in pencil, were two very important things. First, a series of seemingly random letters, a code. 5 lines of it, scrawled quickly. It looked like this Rubaiyat Mioboaxi Itsab. The 4th line was crossed out, perhaps a mistake. Mioboaxi. The police immediately recognized it as a potential code, a cipher. This opened up a whole new can of worms. If it was a code, what did it say? And who was it for? Was it instructions, a message? Did it reveal the man's identity or his mission? Experts tried to break it. They used every method they knew, but it remained stubbornly undeciphered. Some thought it was too short to be a complex code, or others thought it might be a visionaire cipher, a one-time pad, or some other method. But no one could make sense of it. It looked like nonsense, but in this case, everything felt important. And the second thing written in the book was a phone number. This was huge. A phone number! Finally! A tangible link to a real, living person. The police traced the number. It belonged to a young woman, a nurse named Jessica Thomson. She lived in Glenelg, a suburb of Adelaide, not far from Somerton Beach. This was it. They had a name. A person connected to the book, and therefore connected to the dead man. The police went to see Jessica Thomson. And this is where the story gets even more frustrating, and the mystery deepens. Jessica Thomson was a nurse. When the police showed her the photograph of the dead man, she reportedly went pale. She looked like she was about to faint, but then she composed herself and said she didn't know him. She flat out denied recognizing him. The police were suspicious. Her reaction seemed too strong for someone who didn't know the man. Why would she be so visibly shaken if he was a complete stranger? They showed her the book, the Rubaiyat. She said she had once owned a copy, but had given it away years ago to a man named Alfred Boxall. Alfred Boxall was alive and well, so that wasn't the Somerton Man, and his copy of the Rubaiyat was found, intact, with no torn pages. So, the book from Freeman's car wasn't Boxall's copy. Justin, as she was sometimes known, a nickname that stuck, also had a link to the Rubaiyat through a gift. She had a bust of Omar Khayyam, the author of the poems, in her home. It was a gift from a mysterious man. She never said who that man was. This detail just added to the intrigue. Justin's story was inconsistent and evasive. She seemed to be hiding something. She wouldn't look at the police sketch directly. She refused to give a proper statement. But because there was no direct evidence linking her to the Somerton Man, and no cause of death established, the police couldn't push her too hard. She was a witness, not a suspect, at least not officially. So, let's go back to the central question. Why was that specific book found in J. Freeman's car? There are a few main theories, and none of them really make full sense, which is why the case remains unsolved. One theory is that the Somerton Man himself put it there. Maybe he was on the beach, felt ill, and somehow managed to hide the book in Freeman's car before he died. Why? An unlocked random car. Why not just ditch it in a bush? And why tear out the Tamam Shud page and put it in his secret pocket? That seems like a deliberate action, a message. If he put the book in the car, he probably wanted it found, or found by a specific person. But for it to just sit there for months, only to be found by chance by Freeman, who then connected it to a police appeal. Another idea is that he lost it accidentally. He was walking along Jetty Road, the book fell out of his pocket, and someone, maybe even Freeman, found it and put it in the car for safekeeping, or just left it there. But this doesn't explain the torn page in his secret pocket. That detail feels very intentional. If he just lost the book, why would he have a fragment of it in his secret pocket? And why would he be carrying such a rare edition of poetry in the first place if it was just a casual loss? Then there's the possibility of a third party. Someone else put the book in Freeman's car. Maybe this person was involved in the Somerton man's death, or knew something about it. They might have wanted to leave a clue, but anonymously. They couldn't directly give the book to the police, so they put it in a car they knew would be found, or hoped would be found. This could have been a way to point the police towards Justin, or towards the code, without revealing their own involvement. This theory suggests a calculated move, not a random accident. This leads to the popular spy theory. Many people believe the Somerton Man was a spy. The Cold War was just starting. Espionage was rampant. The lack of identification, the cut-out labels, the untraceable poison, the coded message in the book, the Tamam Shud meaning finished, like a mission. All these details fit the profile of a spy. In this scenario, the book in the car could have been a dead drop. A place where agents leave or pick up messages. Perhaps the Somerton Man left it there for someone else to collect, but he died before the exchange could happen. Or maybe his contact left it there for him. The code could be a set of instructions or a report. And Justin, the woman with the phone number, could have been a contact, a handler, or even another agent. Her evasiveness could be explained by her involvement in secret activities. If she was part of an intelligence network, she certainly wouldn't admit to knowing the dead man or his book to the police. The random car would just be a convenient, anonymous drop-off point. It's hard to prove, but it certainly makes for a compelling story. And then there's the more romantic, tragic theory. The book, the Rubaiyat, is a book of love and sorrow. Tamam Shud can mean the end of a love affair. Justin, the phone number, her emotional reaction. Maybe the Somerton Man and Justin had a secret relationship, perhaps he was a married man, or she was. The book, the code, the torn page could all be part of their secret communication. He might have left the book in the car for her or for some intermediary, and his death was the finished end to their story, perhaps a suicide out of despair or a murder by a jealous party. The book in the car, in this scenario, would be a final, desperate message, a testament to a forbidden love. It might have been left there for Justin to find, a place they had designated for secret exchanges, or simply a place where he last had the book before he died. The location of the car is also interesting. Jetty Road, close to the beach where he was found. If he was feeling unwell or was fleeing something, that could be a logical place to try and ditch evidence or leave a message. If he collapsed on the beach, maybe he had just come from that spot. What's really frustrating about the book in the car is that it was such a powerful lead, but it didn't solve anything. Instead, it just added more questions. The code remains uncracked. Justin never fully explained her connection. The police, for all their efforts, never managed to identify the Somerton Man. This mystery has captivated people for decades. Generations have puzzled over it. The very idea of a man appearing out of nowhere, dying mysteriously, and leaving behind only a scrap of poetry and a coded message in a book found in a random car is just too bizarre to ignore. It feels like something out of a spy novel, but it's real. In more recent years, there have been new developments. The body of the Somerton Man was exhumed in 2021. Scientists are trying to extract DNA, hoping to finally identify him. They've found some genetic links tracing back to a large family tree. They even have a potential name, Carl Webb. But even if his identity is finally confirmed, it still won't explain why he died, or why that book, with its mysterious code and phone number, ended up in Jay Freeman's car. The discovery of that book in Jay Freeman's car is a pivotal moment in the Somerton Man case. It's the thread that connects the dead man to a living person, to a cryptic message, and to a rich tapestry of theories about spies, secret lovers, and tragic ends. Without that book, the Somerton Man would remain an even more anonymous figure. But with it, he becomes an enigma, a puzzle whose pieces are scattered in the most improbable places, like the backseat of an unlocked car on an ordinary street. The randomness of the car finding is what makes it so compelling. It wasn't found in his home or his office or with him. It was found in someone else's car, parked near the beach where he died. This one detail suggests so many possibilities: a desperate attempt to leave a message, a secret rendezvous gone wrong, a deliberate planting by a third party, or just an incredible universe-bending coincidence. We might get a name for the Somerton Man, but the mystery of the book in the car and the secret life it hints at will likely remain one of the greatest unanswered questions of all time. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important clues appear in the most unexpected places, almost as if left by a ghost trying to tell us something. And sometimes, even with the clues, we still can't quite hear the message.